It's my great pleasure as track chair to also introduce one of my co-workers. This is Carrie Tibbles, who is our DIO and also our associate PD, who somehow managed to juggle just about everything in a concrete nature. So I've always really enjoyed this talk on time management, especially for us in our profession. It can be a little bit of a daunting. So I'll let Carrie take it away.
Awesome, thanks, and welcome to you all. And what I'm going to do, this particular lecture is really fun to do. I feel proud. I'm going to move it down. It's fun to do at the end of a conference. I usually give it at a medical education conference that we do in Boston for all specialties. And I do it at the end, right when you're just about full, where you come away with about 30 or 40 ideas that you want to implement. As your email box and your to-do list has been growing behind you as you're trying to enjoy the beach, and as your family's like, hey, when are you coming home? This ends up being a fun lecture to do, because now it's just about the reality of that. Okay, how am I going to go home and do these things I care about? How am I going to make myself well, if you were convicted in that last lecture? How am I going to bring my residency to the next level? How am I going to work with my students to the next level? How am I going to incorporate all the things I learned? So this session is really actually very practical about your everyday, your department, your career, and how do I get things done in a way that keeps me sane and happy. So that's what we're going to do for this next piece. The one thing you've got to know is you have to be sitting next to somebody, because it's actually where I'm going to break us a fair amount, and you're going to talk to the person next to you about your real life. And by the end of it, you're going to say no at something, you're going to delegate at something, and you're going to decide something you're going to do that you've always wanted to do, you haven't done, and you're going to say no to a couple things. By the time you leave this room, in an hour, and you've got a new friend or an old friend who's going to help you do that. Okay? So just make sure you're kind of near somebody, so you can do it with someone if you like, and we're going to start. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to take a couple seconds and write down 5 things that you know you need to do. Write down also something you've always wanted to do that you haven't done, and something you wish you weren't doing that you have to do. Okay? So take out any piece of paper that you have, and your to-do list today. So welcome, come on in. Write down your to-do list today of 5 things you know you need to do today. And they can be call something, or something you need to do this week. It doesn't have to be today. You know you need to clean out your garage. You know you need to register your kids for Little, whatever it is, or at work. Now I need to get that grant application. Whatever it is. 5 things that you know you need to do this week. Your to-do list, if someone said write down your to-do list. And then if you have time, we're going to take about 4 minutes to do this. Write down something you wish you could do that you've never gotten to do, because you haven't had time. Not because you're utterly not capable, not like play Lily or Yankee or something. Something you wish you could do but you just don't have time. And something that you wish you weren't doing that you have to do. That's your list to start, and we'll get going. For anyone who's just walked in, what we're doing right now is writing down our to-do list. So sit by somebody, so you are going to have to eventually share with someone. Your to-do list, 5 things you need to do, what you wish you could do, what you wish you didn't have to do. Welcome. Welcome to my have a seat. What we're doing right now is writing down our to-do list. 5 things you really need to do, something you wish you could do, something you wish you didn't have to do. All right, back on the side, I don't have to say. Come on, if you're welcome. We're just taking a minute to write down our to-do list. 5 things we need to do. We'll come back to our list. So just something you'll hang out to. All right, come on in. Welcome, come on in. We have basic list. All right, great. What we're going to go through now is, I'll give you sort of a framework for this book, framework for this talk, is actually a strategy that I have found, and a lot of my friends, and to be honest, a lot of people across the country have found very helpful. You know, there's a million books and a million strategies out there. This one is actually really practical. And if you dive all in, I've used it throughout my career in various different levels, and it has a couple of principles to it that I think are really helpful. And I'll kind of go through what they are. And what I hope you do is take what's helpful and ignore what would feel extra to you. Take what's helpful, ignore what feels extra, and then you'll find it helpful. And then we're going to go through some of the realities that we all share. Meetings, email, and the tyranny of the work we want to do, the work we were planning on doing, and the random work that interrupts us all day. And how you figure those two things out. That's what we're going to spend some time with today. This is actually the book I use. It's called Getting Things Done. Has anybody read it in the room? They read it? Did you like it? Did you find it helpful? You're like, right? I felt like that the first time I read it too, until I played with it a little bit. And I'm going to give you the strategies, because what I've done, this is a book, 20 years old now. It just released a new edition. It has a huge following online. It's called Getting Things Done. What I've done is adapt it, cut in about half for an emergency position, because that's what I am. You can't do it the long way. You need the short way. So what I hope to do is, the first time I heard a lecture on this book, I kind of took it and said, okay, I like a lot of this, but how is an easy document? You know, that's sort of where this talk comes from. So that's a lot of the ideas come from his book, and I want to give you a couple of the principles to start, and then we'll go. Here's the reality of the challenge of work today. And I don't really need to explain this to you. You know, you live it. But it's worth thinking about, because it tells you why sort of old and classic methods of organizing work don't work today. You know, they just don't work as well today because of the nature of work. We know how 24/7 our society is. I got a text about something I had to do Monday morning, 3 a.m. last night. I got a text from somebody who happened to be up, happened to be thinking about what we're doing Monday morning, and thought that was a good time to talk about it, right? I'm in Fort Lauderdale Beach. Just was on a paddleboard yesterday, and got another text about a committee meeting I have 3 weeks from now, while paddleboarding. You know, luckily I got my phone with me, but I got back and I want to think about this right now. You know, that kind of thing. So it's the reality of the 24/7. It's the reality of the pace. It's also, if you think just about medicine in general, the reality of our work. And the fact that we don't always, we talk about setting priorities and goals, but how much of us have the routine, mundane stuff that gets in the way of that? I'd love to think about this new curriculum, but I actually have 30 charts from last night I have to do. Or I've been asked again about this committee to run, or this committee's been meeting for 6 months, I'm not sure where we're going. It's all those elements. The other piece is, if you think about a farmer, you think about a factory worker, you think about somebody who's plugging in 9 to 5. They have a beginning and an end to their work. We don't have that. When you think about projects, they don't always have defined edges, do they, where they end. You know, even think about that with your kids. You could invest 24 hours a day in the education of your children if you wanted to. You could invest in your residency or your med school curriculum, or course, whatever you're teaching. When does it finish? When is it good enough? You could always make it better. Any paper you're writing, you can always make it better. And so there isn't always defined edges. I found that in one of my jobs, I have 4 different, this is crazy that I'm even remotely, this is the Alcoholics Anonymous part of this talk, where I'm honest with myself. I have 4 different titles at the hospital. I even took a couple of them off my business card because it just looked stupid. And I didn't want to look that stupid. But if you think about those titles, all of them own an area. I'm the DIO for the hospital, so that has that umbrella. I'm the vice chair of clinical innovations in my department, so that has that umbrella. I'm the associate PD, that's that umbrella. If you think about all of those, where does my responsibility begin and end? And if you think about your role, I think about something, if you're a QI director or you're an APT or you're a clerkship director, when is that job ever done? And when is it ever done well enough? So that edges to what we're doing and the depth of what you're doing. Now think about all those projects you're a part of. Maybe you're on a task force that's looking at something. Maybe you are on a research team that's looking at something. Maybe you're on this other piece. Then the question comes, what exactly is my role in this project? And what am I responsible for? And that then gets fuzzy. So what he tries to do is help us clarify what exactly is my role here. And what happens is if you have all these projects that are kind of building up and they're a little bit fuzzy and you're not sure your role is there, what we end up doing is always just being responsive to whatever's in front of us. Okay, well I do know I need to actually answer this email, so I'll answer email. Or if somebody's interrupting me, if I haven't clarified exactly what I hope to accomplish today and how I'm going to do it, then what happens is, it so often happens like when we're on shift, we're there just responding to whatever interruption comes and whatever input comes. And say, okay, well let me see what this next email says. Let me see what this says. That's what ends up happening to us. And so when you look back at your day, how many things did I get to the things on my list versus what was on everybody else's list? And because I was there, did I get interrupted? So that's the idea of what can happen to us, I think, in medicine especially. There's this element which is great, he talks about this in the book. A lot of us are a lot more free agents than maybe our parents were in their jobs. In their jobs, they had very specific things they had to do. We as free agents often get to choose. But sometimes that gets hard because then everybody thinks, oh, they can probably do this too. Or we can do this too. And so it's a little less defined than if I say, here's your job description, this is what you're going to do. I'm seeing this, my 16-year-old just took a job at Friendly's Ice Cream, scooping ice cream, that I can see already. The edges are getting blurry, now he's over here, now he's working a few hours longer. I was like, that's what happens in work today. But it's what leads to burnout, it's what leads to people just saying, like, well, I can do it. Now, his big thing that he talks about with us, because even as I'm talking and as you wrote your list, I'm guessing your things don't fit in a even bucket. They're probably coming from different areas. If I've got some things in my DIO job I need to do, I've got some things in my administrative job, the department I need to do, I've got some things I need to check in with my kids about, and all those different pieces, other different goals I have in mind. And the problem is those things start to get up. If I ask you to start thinking about the things you need to do, can you feel them swimming in your head? Swimming in your head. His main point is this. As long as you don't know where something lives, and you don't know what you're going to do about it, and you don't collect it, it actually stays as an open loop in your brain. And your brain recycles it. And so you can never actually have your mind free to focus productively on whatever that thing is you want to do. And how many of you, when you're in the middle of sort of trying to read something and really think about something, all of a sudden get interrupted by something you're supposed to do or some person you're supposed to call or something you're supposed to happen? Happens all the time, right? The reason is your mind hasn't settled it. His whole point is if you have some place that you collect those things, you free your mind from not having to remind it because you know you wrote it down or you know you put it on your phone. And it doesn't matter how you do it. And this is the piece that's interesting and why this works so well. I tried electronic solutions for that, where I put everything in. For me, it's still a piece of paper. It's a notebook that I have, where I know I've written it down. I need to do this thing. I need to call this thing. Because how much of our work often depends on inputs from other people. And that's the hard part. We're not fully enough. We're waiting to hear from this person. We're waiting for this. There's so much of a variability of time. But his whole point is, you can actually be free to get something done if you put that other thing somewhere. And it's called your in basket. It can be anything you want. It can be a piece of paper. A guy, Carlo Rose, I work with, he's a photographer with me. He did the same thing his dad did. He was at in New York as a pediatrician for years. He has an index card in his pocket. It goes there. And everything he does, it goes there. It's just a place for you to collect it. For me, it's a notebook. For you, it might be, more of an electronic pass list. It might be some there's plenty of Evernote, plenty of places you can put it. And his website talks about all those different things. Because for some people that may work. But the basic point is this. No matter what it is, when you write it or you put it somewhere, it frees your mind to do something else. Then what you need to do is decide what you're going to do with it. And that's the piece I'm going to take you through next. First thing he talks about is this. Mastering workflow. And that's what we're talking about here. The idea is all of the inputs that come to us come from different places. Am I hearing something from the students and residents that need to progress? Am I hearing something from my chair? Am I hearing something from patients? Am I hearing something from nurses? One of the reasons we get so prone in emergency medicine to having too much work to do is on a shift, we are highly trained to do this all the time. We're highly trained to respond to whatever in front of us and to manage it. The problem comes when we put that in our whole life and we think our entire role in life is to respond to anything around us and manage it well. In the ED, that's our job is to catch another ship and we're running in front of it. Not always effective to accomplish what we want to in our careers. So the first thing you have to do is capture, is what I'm talking about with my color. Capture anything in your head that you think you need to do, put it somewhere. Put it on that piece of paper. Then, when you have a moment, you're getting ready to prioritize, then you have to clarify, what does this thing mean? Is this something I need to do? Is this something I want to be a part of? Is this something I want or have to do? And you think about it, and you really say, is this actually my job? Do I want it to be my job? And do I have a choice about that? So you actually take a moment, and that's what he suggests, at least once a week. You sit down and you look at all these things. And when something gets in your inbox, you eventually take a decision about it. I'm going to take you through the decisions. Because in the end, not actually that many decisions you have to make. Then you need to organize, reflect on the options. Once you know everything you can do, then you need to decide what you're going to do. And I'll go through a little bit of a strategy. Now I know everything I could do. I could work on this paper, I could answer a few emails, I could get a couple charts done, I could start the process on a new project. Once I know that, I know my priorities, then I can decide what to do. And depending on where I am, how much time I have, and how much energy I have, I'll decide what I'm going to do. And it actually becomes pretty reflexive pretty quickly. And then, once we figure that out, we start doing what we're going to do. Now, the tool, as I mentioned, what you use to keep track of all the things that come into your attention. So if you think about it with our core conference, how many people got a new idea at this conference that they want to do that will require work for them? Right? That's all of you, right? That's why you're here. You're here to get better. So at some point, that needs to go somewhere. And how you do it, as I mentioned, is really your personal preference. There's no basic way. The only thing is, the whole key of it is, you need to trust your system. Whatever system you're using, you need to trust it. Because if you don't trust it, it's going to stay up in your head. And it's going to continue to distract you and clutter you. And you won't be able to focus on it. So here is his system. It's the 4 V's. For those of us, for us, we use algorithms all the time. And everything that comes in is the stuff. What is it? What is it that I have to do? Is this something that's actionable, or is it not? Is this something I just need to? Because a lot of it, also remember too, we get a lot of input that we might want to learn or think about. We don't actually do anything about it. So the first question you ask yourself, is this actionable? Something I need to think about? And if the answer is yes, this comes to this next question, which is key. I mean, if the fundamental things that I learned the most when I started using this book was very simple. what is the next action? And this is incredibly helpful. Helpful with meetings, just helpful with anything that comes across our desk. What is the next action here that needs to happen? And basically, what we need to figure out is once it's actionable, what's the next action, and then what we're going to do about it. And this is the kind of piece. There's really only 4 things you can do with anything in life. You guys can go a couple something else. These are the basics. You're either going to do it, you're going to have someone else do it, you're going to defer it and decide not to do it, or you're going to trash it and say, I'm never going to do it. And those are really the only 4 things you can do. You can either say, I'm going to do something, I'm going to get someone else to do something, I'm going to decide to do something later, or I'm going to decide to not do something. And believe it or not, the decision to not do something is actually very freeing. And to say, like, this thing sort of in your head, and you're going to say, I'm not going to do that. It actually allows you to bring the rest in that same sort of way. So this is the piece of that. So what I want you to do for a minute is let's take a break. And we're going to go through these 4 things. Let's start with what the next action is. And I'm going to go through one sort of thing. And then I'm going to break down a little bit, talk with your partner who you're sitting next to in groups of 2 or 3. And we're going to talk a little more practically about our own life. Let's start with do it. You notice here what's the next action. And the question is, will it take less than 2 minutes? In general, if there's something that you know what the next action is, register for the conference or something. You know what the next action is. Look at your 5 things. Are your 5 things on your list that I asked you to write, 5 things you need to do, those you came later, just a to-do list, how many of them are actually actions that you could do versus ideas, versus ideas or concepts? Look at them. Will any of those actions, and this is his rule, because you want to be careful you don't so-plan it, you never know. His basic rule is this. If you have something to do, and it takes less than 2 minutes, and you can do it, only you can do it, and you are in the place to do it, meaning you can answer that email, you can make that phone call, something comes to you, and it's less than 2 minutes, your idea is you should do it. Okay? At that point, you should go ahead and get it done. The problem comes when you start doing that with things that take 5 minutes and things that take 10 minutes. Then all of a sudden you've decided for your day that you're going to just answer things as they come in and you haven't prioritized. But if something comes to you, a very quick yes, no, those kind of things that only take 2 minutes, you should do it. And if you're the one who wants to do it, it has to be done. That's the rule for do it. Anything else requires a little bit of thought of prioritization in terms of, am I where I want to do this, and is it time to do it? Before we move on to delegate, I want you to spend a minute just thinking about your biggest time management challenge you have now. Turn to your neighbor, think about your list, think about what you'd like to do, and think about what you wish you didn't have to do. Whatever your biggest time management challenge is, so I want to make sure we address them today. And talk to your neighbor about what that is. So get into groups of 2 or 3, spend a few minutes talking about the biggest time management challenges that you have and sort of what you would like help with. So go ahead and take about 5 minutes. We're going to do that, and then we'll talk about some of these other challenges. If you're just walking in, welcome to join a group. Okay, take about another minute. I feel it for you. Okay. Yeah. All right. This is something we can talk about for a while, so I want to kind of hear, let's bring it back to the group. I'm going to let you guys go back to the conversation in a few minutes, but I want to start to hear some of the things that are out there. What are some of the biggest time challenges you guys are talking about? What do you guys got? Charting, absolutely. Getting our charts done. The drop-in. I just have a quick thing. Doesn't that add up? Like over and over and over. Especially, when you have a lot of people that you're responsible for. I have 700 trainees, 50 programs, 80 junior, 50 non-standard programs. There's always one of those. Oh, wait, I got a quick question. A lot of quick questions across 800 people. Yeah. What else? The drop-in, the charts. Absolutely. And if we saw you guys have the new ATTV program requirements, they want to build charting right into the residents. I didn't see anything for faculty on that. We don't have that. We don't have that. That's just a resident. But we also chart. Absolutely. What else? What else do you have? Your inbox, your email. Absolutely. How many people get over 150 emails? It's crazy. You just even think about that. How can you even care? It was so interesting to me. For some reason, our email at work also went through a big security wall. Something changed. All of a sudden, all of my advertisements, you don't realize, but like Ann Taylor, they all went away. I was like, oh, I didn't even miss them. But it still was there 200. It used to be 400. So you didn't even miss them. You're like, I was going to save money. But that is, my credit card filled out better too. I'm like, this might be a correlation. But the amount of stuff that comes out all the time. I finally joined, I was very late because of this lane. I finally joined Facebook right about like 10 years after I announced that. And guess what? It just didn't fit in my life in terms of checking. And I didn't realize this until all of a sudden Christmas came, and almost every Christmas card I was getting from all my buddies across the country were like, I tried to friend you on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. I definitely offended 3 other people. So, but like those kinds of things. Like, what's the pattern of what's the inbox? What else? Family. Oh, they're there, right? Yeah, absolutely. But in saying it is, absolutely, depending on the stages. I thought once I got to Chicago, it was going to be easier. Now that I have like a pre-driver and like this other stuff, it is worse because I know it. Great. Family is, and then on the other end, the parent, the whole well, it's a crazy challenge right now. About your academic challenges.
So there's active teaching where I can't multitask.
Yes.
It's like I have 4 hours and this is all I'm doing and I can't
Nothing
do
else.
anything else.
Yeah, you're right.
So that's nice to have a focus, but it's also
Critical.
because I can't do
And that 4 hours probably happens routinely.
yeah,
Twice a week. So all of a sudden that never ends. And so that you're always either planning for it in the middle of it or coming off of it and what happened everything else. And that whole concept of protected time, of we gave you this role and here's your 30 minutes to do it. Kind of thing. And we weren't going to pay you for that 30 minutes. We're just under here. Yeah. So that whole concept of how do we negotiate for the time we don't necessarily about it is not simple. Not simple at all. And so when we think about our work, most of us, at least for me, my biggest sin is I underestimate. I see the end. I see what I wanted to do. I underestimate the time to get to it. And actually looking at it and underestimating. That's where this what next action piece becomes really helpful. And if you look here, if we weren't getting it done in 2 minutes and we weren't sure, you actually have to map out what are the action steps. And do I realistically have time to do this project or not? Or do I realistically have time to take this thing on? One of the things, for example, for me, that I'm very sad about, that I did a lot in my early career, that once I read this and I went through it, that I don't do anymore, is I don't take on students or residents solo in mentor projects. And I used to love to do that. I did that a ton in my first thing. Now I know what the next actions are for that. And I know the availability I need to have, and I know the time that takes. And I realized after a couple where it was just a big burden, I realized I'm not at the point in my career where I used to love doing that, but now with my administrative responsibilities, I have to sit down. And it seems like such a simple thing. I've got a bright, motivated student, they want to take their project. But because I've actually been realistic about what the actions are that go with that, I have to say no to something that's realistic at this point. There may be a point where I'm no longer administratively tasked, where I'll have that freedom. But that's the sort of example of the priority piece of right now I've decided this broader view of GMU is more important, is where I am right now. I can't do this in a piece. And maybe you have some of that too, where when you're really realistic, this committee is a great thing, this cause is a great thing. But if I map out the next action, I don't actually have capacity to do that right now. And when I look at the current things on my plate and the requirements of it, the frequency of meetings, the amount of charge of this and that, the other thing I have to do with this, the charts, is be realistic and cover clinical calculator. And just say, even though theoretically they fit on the calendar, by the time I put the charts in, I can't do it. I can't do it. But to do that, you have to negotiate some funding for those other pieces that we're working on. And that's the balance structure, the part of negotiation, which is another lecture that's very fun to get. All right, when we think about all the things we need to do, when we talked about the need to plan projects, now I want to move to this next thing and talk about delegation. And I want you to think about, some of us are very good delegators, some of us are too good delegators. Most of us are actually terrible at this, of actually helping someone else do something. So what I'd like you to do is think about your list and turn to the people you're talking about. This will be on your list. See about your life and life. What could I potentially delegate that I no longer need to be doing, and that would make sense for someone else to do in a lot of ways? So let's talk about this delegation piece, and then let me give you sort of some thoughts about it, And I'll give you at the end one of my stories that really actually is probably one of the best moves in my career I did when I learned how to do this a little bit, and I'll tell you how I did it. Things that can be delegated often are tasks that are routine, things you simply do not have time to do. Often what can be great is, can I actually develop someone else by delegating this piece to them? This thing I'm responsible for now, can I delegate? Tasks involve problem solving. And especially here, tasks that will build someone else's capabilities. What I did for me, the project manager in our department now, is an amazing one. She started as a very simple assistant resident coordinator. Very simple job, not particularly well paid. But as soon as I met her and got working with her, I realized she's incredibly bright, motivated, had a master's degree in healthcare and working in social workers, and had a very good knack for organization planning. At a time where I was being handed a lot of projects. And I started working with her slowly over time, making sure that as I was learning, I was developing her skills, but not taking advantage of where she was, but showing her value to the department and advocating for her. And now she's a project manager over our whole department, and has been able to grow in a way that she wouldn't have before, and has doubled her salary staying in our department, just as the creativity over time is building up and saying, this person's got what it takes, let's give her a chance. Now, if I had done that without advocating for her to get her position, I wouldn't take advantage. But giving her some opportunities and growing her and helping the department see that, luckily the other department. That was an example probably of some of the best delegation I've done. So another delegation I've done that's terrible is handing something to somebody that I thought they could do without actually making sure they could do it. And it's not happening. And it's coming back to me that it didn't happen. That's an example of that. So once you turn your group, think about things to delegate. And that last piece, the other thing to think about delegating, is something that really doesn't fit with that fundamental career track you wanted to go on. It's over here. It might be an important thing level, but maybe it has nothing to do with really who you are and who you want to be. It's just this extra thing. That's the thing to think about. Think about your life. Try to delegate something in the next 2 minutes. Go. Okay, take about another minute. All right, let's take a minute in here. What does somebody want to delegate How do you think they're going to do it? What are we going to delegate? Is anyone going to delegate? Well, that might happen. Yes, what you got?
So it's not about delegation, but I just heard that it's more about how to define the things that you want to delegate.
I love it. That's the new B, deflect. We're going to put that up there. That's perfect. Yeah. But you're right. And also, as you're seeing that sort of delegation, that's for you then to stop and say, value doesn't wait a minute. What is this stuff? And being cognizant of what someone else might be thinking about doing with delegation. And that's why I said there's good delegation, and then there's you being a recipient of someone else who came to this lecture and be like, oh, guess what I just learned I need to do. You're now in charge of QA. Anything else that people have thought about that maybe they've been doing for a really long time that takes a big chunk of your bandwidth that might be able to be done in some way? And sometimes that's the piece of taking this pause and thinking about how you organize your work helps you just think about it differently. Because otherwise you just keep going doing the same thing. Anybody else think of something they might want to do that hadn't thought about that? Oh, it's not easy. Yes. Often when you do workflow analysis, it's easy to watch. And you realize there's a lot that we just do. I've done workflow work in EDs for about 15 years now. And the biggest barrier is often the people who want to work in EDs are really do-it-yourself or hard-working, just do it to get it done communication kind of people. As opposed to, we don't want, we just do it. We're like, gotta print it out, stopping and thinking about, hey, maybe there's a better way to do this that actually frees up that position. It's a great thing. In our clinical work, we want to work. Anybody else think of something that's not on that list they love to think about delegating in a positive way? Not in a negative way. I like that name. In a positive way that might build someone else's career, give them a chance. Oh, it's not even it's actually really cool. Yeah, I thought you had something. Go. And that's the piece we have to work with. You got to it. And that's the fundamental piece is I have to work on my part of it, which is like, and that's the trick. And it takes practice. And I figured that out. I was like that. I am probably one of the only DIOs in the country who is still an associate program director. That happened. That happens because I didn't want to let it go. But what I've had to learn and teach myself is, you know what? I don't have the capacity to fully invest in that active. I need to let that go. And you know what? I'm going to do a lot of interviewing, but I'm not going to write it down. I had to figure it out. It was a process. And I don't think I was I think I was a little slow with it. But it's neat to watch these assistant PDs under me now, learn it and be passionate about it and figure it out. So it's not always easy, especially if that thing you're delegating is the thing that defines you or is a big core of who you are as a department for a long time. That's when it gets the hardest. And so for me, the assistant PD role was like that, where it's hard to hand it over to someone else, but now that I've done it, you need to see what they're doing and realize I had to deal with that space. We have that challenge in my department. It's hard, but it doesn't move that fast. You have to know that. You have to still wait for someone to die before it's like change. But what we figure out is when you do move, when you do delegate, you open up space as well as you want. So let's take these last few minutes to get back to our time. The reality is delegation is not simple. It does take practice. You need to follow up to make sure it's done and done right. And in some ways, you need the same sort of organized system for follow-up than you do when you're doing it yourself. We know that when you're working with residents on patients. You've got a different system, a different awareness. You need to do it regularly to decide who you can trust and give time. That's the other piece. You have to be able to assess that. You may need some extra education for them to do things for you. But that gets that. I would really enjoy being a resource to the new APDs when they have a challenge. And realizing my experience is very valuable, but I'm giving them the chance to learn and realize. Often for medium and long-term things. This last one, deferring. This is incredibly helpful in that when you decide to not do something, it frees up your day. And believe it or not, that can make a big difference. I'm going to defer it, and sometimes you know exactly when you move it. I started doing that a fair amount with either speaking engagements I just don't have time to, or other projects like that, where I simply say, I know my fall is already very full. I'd love to consider for next year, and I'll block it for the year after. And people I have found, you think if I say no, I'll never get asked again. But if you're just realistic, you do get asked again. You get asked again, and you're just realistic about it. Or just on everyday things. I'm either going to put something in my calendar, or I'm going to decide I'm going to reconsider it in a month, whatever that is. And then, of course, you need to realize, too, there are some things I'm just not going to do, and I'm going to delete it right now. There's a fair amount of things that I've started to do that a little more ruthlessly with, simply because I know my plate is full. Where I can say thank you, but I can't consider that. I end up doing that a fair amount with the Harvard Medical School teaching when I get asked to do that. I kind of made a commitment 2 years ago that I didn't have time to do that because I was too busy with the DIO role or I was too busy with that. So sometimes it takes that kind of thing where you just say, I'm not going to do it. Now, sometimes stuff is coming to us that we want to read something. How many of you have a big stack? I have. Maybe you don't, you're probably more organized than me. I have a big stack of Journal of Basic GME and some other periodicals. Oh, I want to read that. What you got to figure out is, am I realistic about that? And I want to keep it for reference, or do I really need to just clear it out? And then the someday is, this is an incredible idea. I started doing some international work in Haiti and medical work in Haiti, and I love it. And now that I'm doing that work, I'm seeing lots of things come in, and I've started what's called a tickler file for that. That's a really great idea. I can't consider it today, but I want to be able to come back to it. And I just keep stuck in one sort of place, which is the really great idea. Maybe I can come back to it. I want to revisit it. And I'm not being so harsh. There's some things I know I need to say no, and there's some things I need to say maybe, and I need a place to put the maybe until I come back to it. That was the other thing that was really helpful in the system. So how do you prioritize what you're going to do? You want to have a complete list of all that you do. You have to take this part. It's hard to do, but you have to take this part. Understand that every day the choices of what you decide to do relate to those projects. And then I'm going to show you that one quadrant that I think is helpful, which is spend at least 20% of your time doing the things that are really top priority to you. It comes from Stephen Covey. I'll show you that in the next slide. And use your calendar to help you. Make sure it's truly up to date so you know where you're supposed to be and when you're supposed to be. Because if you have that, then you have a sense of like, wait, I have a block of 2 hours where I can make some phone calls. And that was a luxury. Nobody ever has that. But theoretically, if you had a block of 2 hours, you're going to make your phone calls and do it. Or I was going to do my emails and stuff. The problem comes when we're trying to do all this stuff at the same time. We don't get as much time. And block your time at least in 45 minutes. The quadrants that we're talking about are here. And his point is to spend at least 20% of your time in those high priority areas. Because what can happen otherwise is we can get incredibly good at, got all my emails done today, I got all my charts done today, my chairs have called me about anything because I got it all done, and I made all my phone calls, and I handled every interruption. Okay, how good do we really feel about our day? Did we get anything further on a curriculum we cared about? Did we get anything further on a research project we cared about? Or did we only answer email, respond to phone calls, and handle interruptions? And that can be our life. That can be every day if we're not careful, except for our patient care. That's not what we want. So you want at least 20% of your time in this. It's important or urgent. Important, not urgent, is that key quadrant. You want 20% of your time. We're ER docs. We're very good at quadrant one. Important and urgent. We're very good at that. That's what we train for. We train for crisis. We train for emergency. But isn't it interesting, what I have found is If I've spent more time in quadrant 2, I have a lot less emergencies happening in quadrant 1. So you have to do that piece. There's this last quadrant down here, not important, not urgent. That's like the my waste category of like, okay, I'm just gonna watch, catch up on binge watching TV, and I'm gonna be on Facebook, and I'm gonna do junk mail, and some calls and emails fall into this waste category. I don't think most of us spend a lot of time in that category. My 16-year-old spends a lot of time in that category. We're working on that. 3 is the top one, and the one that's the deception quadrant where I think we're the most vulnerable, which is it comes across as urgent, but it's really not even important. And if you notice here, most emails fall into this quadrant. They really do. Meeting other people's priorities and expectations, urgency masquerading as importance in some calls. This is the one that hopefully by doing that clarifying process with our day, deciding how we're going to spend our time, what projects we truly care about in our action, get us out of this one. And hopefully give us some more time in quadrant 2. The problem is, if we try to spend all our time in quadrant 2, we're not realistic. We want to spend all our time thinking about the big 10,000 picture view of the person we want to become. Our charts pile up, and we're in trouble. And we don't even get the out there anymore. So we have to be realistic about the mundane and getting the plus big picture. Let's spend the last 5 minutes on these common time traps just with a few suggestions. First is email. I think I've kind of gotten at a lot of it, but it's so important I'm going to come back to it. Just turn off your notifications where they pop up on your screen. If you truly want to take 1 or 2 hours to write something, just say, I'm going to put my emails off. Your email cannot be your to-do list. And here's why. If your email, a lot of us use it, let me just pull up that email because then I'll know what I'm supposed to do. If it becomes your to-do list, by definition, you've just decided you're going to let somebody else make your to-do list. You need to have a to-do list accepted. Because otherwise, your to-do list just became the priorities for people who send you emails. And that's not what you have your own priorities. I think avoid long emails. And, I have a few friends who think this is just the way to do all business. And they write 2 different things. I just don't even agree. Because it just drives me crazy. And I think you gotta figure out, is this the most efficient? What makes sense? The other thing is, be careful about who you CC that you don't expand the conversation and listen to expand. And don't feel obligated to apply to every thread that you're on. Wait and see. What I found out is often sometimes best when you're on a shift. When you're on a shift, you just can't get to email. What I love to see sometimes, and it's really focusing it, some problem happened in the morning. 10 different people send emails about it. I get off my shift, have a sandwich, sit down, okay, let me check email. Okay, there's 10 of these here. I go to the top and I realize it's been mostly resolved. I can come in with 1 sentence and done. It's done. And I love that. It makes me realize I didn't even be boiled in this on that. It settled itself out, and here we are. So think about that and go, what is my response adding to this? I do a whole thing with residents when I start on email etiquette, because it can be a place where somehow people become very bold in ways that they shouldn't. There's that whole side of it too. But in general, when you think about time, and then this is what happened to me with my security thing happening, they go, unsubscribe to anything you actually don't care about, because then you just don't have to see it. Makes a big difference. Big difference. Let's talk about your workspace. I am terrible at this, but I realize I spend a fair amount of time looking for a piece of paper. And think about, if you haven't for a while, spring right now, could you spring clean and get rid of all that? Because most of now is saving how many pieces of paper we actually need to go after that. The other thing, I have one of the assistant program directors who works for us now is actually an organizing specialist, and he refers to me as a place of incredible electronic clutter, meaning where is stuff on my desktop, where is all these emails and stuff that go back to the 17 years old. You have to be really careful about that stuff. It's worth that one day of just cleaning it out, and then you're not looking for things, spending time, those things make a difference. Someone talked about this, the drop-in. The key is, do you actually have uninterrupted time where you don't get interrupted? You need to have these where you're really focused for 2 to 3 hours and not be interrupted. It's worth, and if you go to the website, the handout that I gave you actually has an interruption log and assessment you can take to figure out why do I get interrupted? and look at it and figure out what do I need to do about it. Maybe it's because I actually wasn't clear about something that I communicated, and if I'd been clear about it, people wouldn't even request. That's sometimes what it is. Often it's just this unspoken thing that you're continually available at all times. I was in the elevator yesterday, and there was somebody on the phone, and like they were clearly heading to the pool, at least when they were wearing the pool, and they were on the phone, and the student was like, and I heard him say to the student, why don't you not do this rotation, do this rotation, like, isn't it like clearly organizing the students' life while they're in the whole context. I'm so glad I the students allowed. I was thinking, I was just like, ow, what's the message and how accessible we are all the time? And is there a way, as a culture in our department, we can have some sort of, a lot of corporations have some sort of uninterrupted spaces that people are working. One of the things that helped me a lot is when I took my administrative job at the hospital level, my office went across the street. And I could choose to be over my own department and set it up, and then when I'm in that office, I'm interrupted a lot. My office across the street, I can actually close the door, and I'm amazed how So we're thinking about what are some of the ways you can control interruptions. And one of the articles that I gave you in the handout talks about that. Let's talk about meetings. What are meetings? Think of something besides a meeting. I serve on an average of 15 committees right now. Part of that the hospital basically do is, now to figure out how much administration you just need to do. What we're trying to do is figure out as always, what is the purpose of this meeting, and do we even need to have any knowledge? Sometimes we just assume anytime we have something we need to talk about, we need to do it. And I've started doing some other unique things of just communications, quick conference calls sometimes, and sort of figuring out what needs to happen with this meeting. The other thing is, I don't know where the holy rule came down about academic medicine that every single meeting needs to be an hour long. Meetings don't need to be an hour long. We make them, I guarantee you, because I sit in about 12 meetings a week. If you schedule it for an hour, it'll go for an hour. Always good. But there's not a reason a meeting couldn't be 45 minutes. It's also not a reason, and I notice this with our CEO, I meet with him occasionally, he schedules 15-minute, 30-minute meetings. That's actually not a very bad idea at all. Because you get right to the point, you solve what you need to solve. What also could just be solved by phone call. Sometimes I found when my scheduler is scheduling my meetings, and I realize I can't see somebody for a month and a half. I just pick up the phone and say, can I call you today on my way home? Call you this call. It's done. So thinking about those pieces and saying, why are we in this meeting? What is this meeting still happening? One of the things that's really helpful that I was talking to somebody who works in biomedical research is when they have a project they just think is going to work, they actually have a party that's almost called like a funeral party where they put it to bed and say we're not going to do this anymore. We don't do that very well. We have to keep projects and let them kind of slowly feed around for the purpose of a committee. Maybe a committee was really important for tasks you have. It doesn't need to be there. How do we actually say that? So, well, how do we make anymore? And it's, it's kind of not an end to it. We don't end things well. Thinking about your meetings, got to start on time. It's got to have a clear agenda, and it makes sense. Have people been prepped beforehand, and do we know why we're there? And does it end on time? And does it end very clearly with, now that we've met, this is what we're going to do. And we walk out with the next action steps. Because otherwise, if that stays vague, guess what? We meet again in 2 weeks, we're right where we started. Because nobody really remembered what was supposed to happen. And so be really thoughtful about your meetings. Who even needs to be there? And can I free someone else up who doesn't need to be there? And that was a little bit of a control thing too. One of the other things I had to mature past was thinking that I needed to be everything. Well, no, I need to be there as part of my job. Recognizing that I can allow other people to work and do work and report back. Not always simple, but something to think about with your meetings. All right, I'm going to end with this. I'm hoping what happened for you in this hour is you thought of at least one thing. Maybe it's just the last book. That was really helpful for me. Maybe it's simple, I'm going to decide not to do something. Maybe it's how you're going to organize work or something like that. What I'd love you to do right now is think about that list. Think about maybe one change you'd like to make in your time management. And I wish you well as you go home and start to implement all the things that you learned here at work. I hope you have given you a little bit of a strategy on how to manage your time to do that. So thank you very much and good rest of the